We woke up early this cold and rainy morning to get an early start. We packed up the truck last night and got on the road before the camp's restaurant even opened. We are leaving Simba Safari Camp in Queen Elizabeth National Park, crossing the Kazanga Channel, and on our way to Bwindi National Park. Bwindi National Park is located at the very southeast corner of Uganda. On the map, the distance between the parks is about 75 miles. Dwada estimates it's going to take 6 hours to get to Bwindi because we have to drive slowly across the wet, muddy, pothole-ridden dirt roads.
20 kilometers?
From the main road to Ishasha, 75 kilometers.
As is usual during a morning commute, we encounter traffic issues, but these aren't caused by a car accident, but by elephants crossing the street. Out of curiosity, I asked Dwada why we just don't drive slowly past them, and he replies,
They are very dangerous because they have babies.
the elephants stop eating breakfast and start moving on. Dwada tells me to get back in the truck as he puts it in reverse in case Mama Elephant feels threatened and decides to charge us. Because Simba Safari Camp is solar powered and didn't have electrical outlets, I used a car charger to recharge my camera batteries. We are in the forest, and there isn't much to see except for the occasional villager biking to their job site to maintain and repair the dirt road. Occasionally we'll see a heavy hauler carrying food, water, and supplies to remote villages in the bush. They're so big and drive so fast that Dwada slows down and drives on the shoulder of the dirt road. Since I've been in Uganda, I've noticed these heavy haulers are prone to breakdowns. I'm not sure if it's due to extreme conditions or just poor maintenance. We cross the river and enter the Kanungu district, and the geography changes from forest to grassland.
The animal is that?
That one is a topi. It's called topi.
It's raining and it's peaceful. I take a moment to take it all in, the big sky and the wide country.
What is that noise?
It's a noise from the Uganda club. It's warning each other there's something wrong.
These are gray-crowned cranes, and they are the national birds of Uganda. They stand about 3 feet tall and weigh in about 8 pounds. The cranes prefer nesting near wetlands, which are being drained and poisoned to prevent malaria, which has decimated their populations. We come across a troop of baboons migrating across the grasslands in search of new food sources. When they are this far away from trees is when they are most vulnerable to being eaten by lions.
This is going to become a desert because the trees are being pushed down by the elephants?
No, I can't say that because I'm not sure. There's some young which is coming. You can ask why those trees are lying down. Then I can answer. The elephants, the one who pushed them.
We come across a lone male foraging for food, and he's not happy to see us. He instantly goes into a defensive stance, ears flaring wide to make him look bigger and more menacing. After a bit, he calms down, ignores us, and goes back to eating. Elephants like the tender plant shoots and will tear down tree limbs to get to them, killing the entire tree in the process. Scientists now believe that the savanna deforestation is partly to blame on the elephant foraging, and has become a main concern, especially among those living alongside them. We are halfway to Bwindi, and I can see the mountains on the horizon. We keep driving the backcountry dirt road, not seeing anyone else for miles and miles. It's as if we're the only people on the planet. The mountains on the horizon come into the foreground, and the landscape, which was flat, becomes hilly. The other noticeable feature are the numerous villages we are driving through. After an hour, we reach the foothills of the mountains, and the vegetation turns lush green. We drive through the town of Bulema, a commercial industrial hub for the area, and the road turns steep and winding. About 45 minutes later, we arrive at the town of Buhoma, and I see billboards announcing the importance of good hygiene between humans and gorillas. Then further up the road, I see another billboard as for the reasons why. Gorillas are the area's main source of revenue, ecotourism, and a healthy gorilla makes for a healthy economy. We arrive at a dirt road, and Duwada stops a truck at a gate. He tells me we've arrived at Bwindi Impenetrable Forest National Park, and it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site under the auspices of the Ugandan Wildlife Authority. I get out of the truck and walk to the bulletin boards and read some general information about the park, such as we are 6,000 feet above sea level. I read the gorilla tracking information but don't quite understand the group composition thing. I'll have to research that further. I look over the gorilla rules, and it sounds like common sense to me. We hop back into the truck, drive to the visitor center, park the Toyota Land Cruiser, and check in at the Buhoma Community Rest Center. I check in at the reception desk, and I'm told I'm staying in a self-contained safari tent called Chameleon, which costs about $65 a night. The Buhoma Community Rest Center was started in 1993 by some Mukono parish members and John Dubois, a U.S. Peace Corps volunteer. The camp is part of the Buhoma Community Development Association, which was formed to earn a living through methods that would not destroy the area's biodiversity. As a direct result of this initiative, there has been a massive reduction in deforestation in the area. I ask the clerk for the key to my door, and he tells me it's on the desk in my room. He points in the direction of a dirt path leading down into the valley and tells me to look on the signs for the name of my tent, which is called Chameleon. I pass by this cottage, a bit nervous it might be mine, but it's not. It's called the Chimpanzee. So I continue walking and come to this building, which isn't mine either, and as I found out later, it's taken by a couple on their honeymoon. It rains a lot here, and it's hard to maintain trails, as you can see. I see a sign painted Chameleon pointing to a cottage, and it looks like a tent erected under a thatched lean-to. As I get closer and walk up the steps, I see that's exactly what it is. But this isn't some cheap pub tent, but an industrial-grade tent meant to last in the extreme conditions of the rainforest, and hung from the rafters of a hard-top structure. Very impressive. It doesn't get any more safari or expedition than this. This is very cool. We are 6,000 feet above sea level, and the weather is cool and mosquito-free, so I really don't need the net. I see an open tent flap in the back of the tent, and I walk to it, and I'm surprised to see a built-in bathroom, complete with a shower. I turn on the shower to test the water pressure and the hot water. The pressure is low, but there is hot water and soap, so I'm definitely taking a hot shower tonight. The other cool thing was a private commode, which was clean and odor-free. It did have a broken seat, which caused some technical difficulties when using it. This is an African jungle, also known as a rainforest. One of the main benefits of the Buhoma Community Development Association is the protection and prevention of deforestation. If the locals did not have a viable way of feeding their families, they would clear-cut the forest and plant cash crops for export to industrial countries, such as rubber, cola nuts, and palm oil. The most lucrative cash crop of all is lumber, which is used by most Africans to heat their stove and cook their food. A dramatic and sobering statistic from the World Bank is that 80% of the African forests have been cut and turned into agricultural fields to accommodate an ever-increasing population which is expected to grow by 2.5 billion by 2050. I've unpacked my gear and settled for a bit, enjoying the extraordinary view and listening to the forest. A fellow traveler comes by and asks if I'd like to join them at 7 for dinner tonight, and in the meantime offers to take a photograph of the photographer. After a brief nap, I feel rested and refreshed, so I put on my wet and muddy boots and look around the tent for my sunglasses. I find the glasses and they're not doing too well. The second day I arrived in Uganda, I sat on them and broke the right temple arm. The next day, I sat on them again and broke the frame. It is what it is. I leave Buhoma community and walk down the steep and slippery dirt road, walking by picturesque and bucolic scenes of Africa. It's very quiet. No city noises, no cars, no trucks, not even airplanes flying overhead. Just the calm noises of birds and insects. I continue walking ever more slowly and relaxed, enjoying the solitude and beauty around me, when I come across a young boy herding a flock of goats back to his family stable for the night. It's late afternoon, close to evening, and the farmers are all herding their livestock to the stables for the night. The sound of stubborn and reluctant animals can be heard throughout the valley. It reminds me of my childhood, when I would help my uncles herd the dairy cows from the fields to the stables. I come to a village, typical for these parts of Uganda. I get closer to the center where the people are gathered in the marketplace. I can sense the distrust and suspicion in the air as a strange white man with several cameras hanging around his neck walks near. I want to get nearer, closer, to get better footage of their lives and trades, while still respecting their privacy and dignity. It's a fine line, and I curb my curiosity, filming from afar. As I traveled throughout Uganda, I kept seeing stacks of bricks, usually covered with palm fronds, along the side of the roads. I was told if you want a brick house, you have to make your own bricks, and that means finding and digging up some clay. After mixing the clay with some sand, you put them in a mold, and after 2 weeks, they dry by 90%. The next step is called burning, and the stove kiln method is used, where bricks are stacked and spaces are left for fire holes, which are filled with wood and charcoal. The kiln is then covered in mud to further retain heat, as the materials in the brick will not sinter or fuse together until the temperature reaches 1,800 degrees Fahrenheit, which usually takes 7 days to achieve. When the kiln is disassembled, the sorting process begins. The raw bricks from the outermost wall will be kept and burned in the next kiln. The best bricks, which are orange colored, are used for the outer walls, while the slightly under-fired bricks, which are salmon colored, are for the interiors. Bricks that are overly burned, cracked, or warped are called clinkers and are used in making driveways and garden paths. I'd walked further than I thought, and by the time I got back to camp it was dusk, and night was falling fast. I was very thankful the camp staff had laid out oil lanterns to light the trails back to the tent. By the time I got to my tent, it was dark, and I was even more thankful for the oil lantern lighting my entrance. The electricity is off, and the only light is from oil lanterns. There are no more distractions. I am alone, present, and mindful as I listen to the sounds of the jungle. Shh. Listen.